Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Hey, my beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of the Radical Responsibility Revolution. This is where we unearth the truth, dismantle the nonsense, and wrap it all in a sparkle of sass and a whole lot of soul. I'm your host, Debbie Dobbins, author, the Queen of Magic, and a fierce protector of spiritual sanity in an upside down world, which is what we will talk about today. I grew up with a song by Jackie DeShannon. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. And if you listen closely, you will hear an aspirational SOS calling us from our consciousness. Today's episode is one of those messages that's been bubbling in my soul for weeks because I believe we're living through a spiritual transformation. And some are calling it a spiritual crisis, but truly, it's a transformation. And whether you hear terms like it's a religious war, a culture war, a spiritual crisis, all of those things imply that we're somehow at war with one another. We're actually being asked to wake up spiritually. This is a spiritual wake up call that's happening right now to transform the planet. And there's one way, one piece of medicine, one cure for all of it. And it's been here all along. This is a conversation about love. And heck, if it was that simple, we would not be experiencing what we are right now. And if I had $1 for every time someone told me that God is love, but then used religion to shame, control, or exclude others, I have a whole lot more inner billionaires walking around on this planet. So, this episode is not about proving which religion is right or who's got the best access to heaven, and more about connecting every belief, faith, and teaching through this power of love. And I'm sure that there are plenty of you out there listening. If you got this far and you've already thought about clicking off because it's not controversial enough, I'm not causing havoc and dissension, but stay with me and you just might find that it is. So, for all of you that are old enough to remember the song that I just referenced by Jackie DeShannon, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Burt Bacharach really knew what he was doing when he wrote that song. It has a catchy tune, but it has never, ever been more poignant than it is now. This is the prescription for our time. So let's be real. We are having a soul deep reckoning on this planet of biblical proportions. But this isn't about a religion or a denomination. Our systems are crumbling, and love has become optional, outdated, inconvenient, and way too often, even religions are weaponizing their beliefs. They're virtue signaling righteousness. Nobody has a lock on righteousness, I promise you. No religion, no teaching. We're canceling people instead of connecting with them. That's become the natural state of our beingness. We need love. And what breaks my heart, we forgot that love isn't that fluffy Hallmark stuff. Love is fierce. Love is inconvenient. And love is revolutionary. So let's be honest with ourselves. I want you to take a long, hard look in the mirror and how many of the spiritual principles, not dogma or doctrine, of your faith do you practice? Sometimes it appears that the world is not okay.
But is that the truth? If we choose, or you choose, to believe that everything is working in divine order, we have to accept that what we might be seeing right now is perfect and transforming us in ways we cannot understand with our human minds. Sadly, what so many people are seeing is the brokenness and then turning that into fear. That brokenness looks like being busy, being right, forgetting how to be kind, addicted to outrage and hate, and forgetting how to be human. We are so divided over politics, pronouns, passports, and people that we've never even met. And guess what? The loudest voices in the room, they are the most disconnected from their core, which is love. But here's what I know in my bones. Every single one of us, no matter what religion we follow, what country we live in, or what party we vote for, we're all wired for love. Did you hear that? We are already wired for love. This is our core nature. So this episode might just be the most personal, raw, and universal one that I've shared yet. Because the world doesn't need more opinions. It doesn't need another algorithm, another hustle strategy, another division line. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Mm-hmm. Not that fluffy Instagram quote kind. I'm talking about real love. It's not the kind that hides behind good vibes only while bypassing truth, because there is a lot of stuff going on right now. But it's the kind of love that sees all, includes all, and more importantly, transforms all. So I want to begin this journey today, not with a headline or a lesson, but with a story. You see, I remember standing in my church as a little girl, maybe 9 or 10, wearing the dress my mom made for me and then starched within an inch of its life, listening to the preacher talk about hellfire and damnation, while my spirit just whispered, "Where's the love?" Because even then I knew something was off. I couldn't name it yet, but I knew that the God I believed in wasn't angry. She was loving, tender, kind. And yet, the louder the preaching got, the less love I felt in the room. So I wonder if you can relate to my experience. What I didn't know then and have learned since is that we have confused religion with spirituality. And oh my, they are not the same. Religion gives us the rules. Spirituality gives us the relationship. Religion gives us dogma. Spirituality gives us devotion. And I want to be clear. I'm not anti-religion, but when we use it to judge or exclude or shame or silence, we've missed the entire point. We've walked away from its golden thread, which weaves through all religions and spiritual teachings. A few years after that, I joined a club on my high school campus called Youth for Christ. I was just 16 when my world split open. In one moment, the safety I thought I had vanished. The world stopped making sense. And when you're that young, you don't know what to do with the ache in your chest, the confusion in your soul, the shame that I didn't ask for. And in that one moment, my innocence wasn't the only thing taken. My relationship with God, with religion, and with my own soul felt like they were ripped apart. Because you see, the people I was supposed to be able to turn to either minimized it, spiritualized it, or avoided it altogether. And maybe you know that feeling, that ache in your chest, that shame you didn't ask for, that deep spiritual confusion that makes you wonder if love is even real at all. And you know what? It didn't look like trauma from the outside. It looked like a church retreat, a place where we sang songs about Jesus and talked about purity, a place that was supposed to be safe, holy, set apart. But holiness can wear a mask, and predators can hide behind pulpits. I was just a girl, open, eager, and devoted, hungry for God, hungry for truth, and hungry for love that wasn't laced with expectations or shame. And then it happened. Not in the dark alley they warn you about, but in the middle of what was supposed to be a spiritual awakening. I was touched in a way that had nothing to do with God. I was betrayed in a place that preached trust. I was spiritual roadkill on the path to someone else's power trip. And you know what? The worst part? I thought it was my fault. Because when you're 16 and someone older in a position like that, spiritual leader, someone you were taught to respect, violates you with a smile and a prayer, your body knows it's wrong, but your brain can't make sense of this betrayal. So I turned inward. I blamed myself, and I carried the shame in my own bones, as if I was the sinner for surviving someone else's sin. It took me years to untangle that knot, to realize that what had happened wasn't just a personal violation, it was a soul wound, a rupture in my understanding of God, love, trust, and truth. That rupture, it became the doorway, the portal. It led me to question everything that I had been taught. Not because I stopped believing in God, but because I started seeking the real divine, which is within each of us. The one who doesn't need titles or robes. The one who lives in my breath, my belly, my truth. The one who says you are already whole, even when you are broken. And that experience, as painful as it was, cracked open the shell of religion and set me on a lifelong journey towards spirituality. Real spirituality rooted in love, not fear. And that's why I do what I do now. Because I know I'm not the only one who's been hurt in holy places. I know what it feels like to confuse God with guilt, to mistake control for connection, to swallow shame instead of singing praise. What I did know was that I needed something bigger than me to hold me through it. And what I saw around me were rules, dogma, conflicting messages of what was right or wrong. God was up there. Punishment was real. Forgiveness felt like weakness. So I ran. I ran towards books, philosophies, practices, mystics. I ran toward anything that hinted at wholeness. Not religion, but spirituality. Not perfection, but presence. Not a man in the sky, but a love that included even me. And over time, I discovered something life altering. Every major faith tradition, religion, from Christianity to Islam, Judaism to Buddhism, Hinduism to Sikhism, had one thing in common, actually two. We're talking about the one love today. The other thing is the oneness. But today I want to talk about the love because every one of those religions has that core message. That moment, that pain was actually the beginning of a very long journey that I didn't even know it then. But I had begun searching, not for religion, not for doctrine, but for something deeper, something that could hold me when the systems failed me, something that could see me in my wholeness, not my brokenness, something that could remind me that I was still worthy of love. So I started reading, studying, asking the big questions. I went to spiritual centers, read sacred texts, dove into science, metaphysics, energy healing, traveled, prayed, doubted. And you know what? Slowly, I began to see this golden thread that no one had pointed out before that was in every single one of these spiritual teachings. No matter where you come from, what you believe, or whether you kneel, chant, meditate, or dance under the full moon, love is that common thread, that golden thread that weaves through every major spiritual tradition, every sacred text, every true act of grace. And here are some of the ways I found that love. Just to be very clear that these religions all say the same thing. Christianity talks about agape, divine love, a love that is selfless, unconditional, and freely given. The kind that's supposed to raise the dead and heal the sick, not cast people out because you don't like what they believe. Judaism centers around love your neighbor as yourself, not just your bestie, but the stranger, the outsider, the one who looks, thinks, or prays differently than you. And in Judaism, giving is an act of love that multiplies. Islam speaks of the love between humans as a reflection of God's love. It teaches mercy, generosity, and honoring every living soul, even the smallest among us or those that you don't agree with. Hinduism understands love as layered, from self love to divine devotion, from romantic love to universal compassion. Pour love out and more love returns because we are all one. Buddhism teaches true love through kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusivity. If it isn't joyful or freeing, it isn't real love. And Sikhism speaks of Pyre, a deep love for the divine and all creation. Every act of service, every sacred song, every shared meal is a form of love. And you know what? None of these teachings ever say, you're not worthy unless you believe exactly what we believe. They all, in their truest form, say, love is the way. Every tradition, even the ones we misunderstand, come back to love. Love. Not judgment, not superiority, not conversion, just love. And even if you've never stepped into a temple, a church, or a mosque, this message is already inside of you. It's what you're made of. Even the golden rule, treat others as you would want to be treated, shows up across centuries, continents, and creeds. A coincidence? I think not. It's the reminder etched into our DNA. And yet, look around. We've traded unity for tribalism, forgiveness for shame. Faith has been traded for fear. So, where did it get twisted? Well, I'll say that religion has a branding problem. And the moment humans start managing love with rules, punishments, or exclusivity, it stops being love and starts being control. The dogma, the fear, the shame. I'm going to be honest. I had a breakup with Christianity for a long time because no matter how many times I heard, for God so loved the world, I personally couldn't get past the second part that only those who accepted Jesus, who is actually Christ, would have everlasting life. Now, I'm 16 years old and I'm asking, what about the rest of the world? What if you never heard this story, this good news? What about the children born into other faiths, other countries, other traditions? Was this God that I believed in, this loving God, really that limited in mercy? That didn't sit right with me. It felt exclusive, not inclusive, conditional, not divine. And that's why I started my journey. And for years, that dissonance in the Christian religion pushed me away, not just from church, but from the Bible itself. Believe me, I resisted it hard. I wanted love to be bigger than a single path. But then something shifted. One day, I picked up the Bible again, but this time I didn't read it like a rule book. I read it with the parables that it had in it as this metaphor, a mirror, a mystical map of consciousness. The parables came alive. The stories stopped being historical footnotes and started being vibrational lessons. And I realized something uncomfortable, but very freeing. I had been judging Christianity just as harshly as I felt it had been judging me. That kind of hit me upside the head because judgment is the opposite of love. And if I truly believed love was the thread, the truth, the way, and the light, I had to learn to see the oneness, even in the places that had wounded me. Through a metaphysical interpretation, I began to see the Bible not as a gatekeeper, but as a spiritual technology, a way to remember who we are, how we love, and how we awaken. So it's not about which tradition you follow, because all of these spiritual texts have these great, deep spiritual teachings in them. It's about how deeply you're willing to love yourself first, others, and the divine within everything. The rules, the dogma, and the doctrine are what turned me off for so long. That's what made me believe that maybe I wasn't good enough for the kind of divine love that was being talked about in my early years. But here's what I now know with every fiber of my being. You don't have to go through a priest, a book, or a hierarchy to access the divine. You are the access point. Love lives in you. And it took me years, no, decades even, to find my way back to that, to reclaim love as something holy, not harmful, to untangle love from perfection or performance or punishment. Sure, I've made mistakes. Hasn't everyone? It says that in the Bible. We aren't without sin. And sin, by the way, is just missing the mark. I haven't always loved in that unconditional way. Sometimes I've shut down, lashed out, walked away. Then I learned about forgiveness and realized that I don't have to do it perfectly. I've learned to love with ferocity, with devotion, and with faith. And more than anything, I've learned to love myself, the parts that hurt, the parts that shine, and the parts that are still healing. So that's what my book, Your Inner Billionaire, is really about. It's not just about money. It's about your divine inheritance, your soul, your radiance, your capacity to create, receive, and become love itself. So let's get something straight right here and right now. Love is not passive. It's not that kumbaya where the world burns. Love is fierce. It's the mother who forgives the drunk driver. It's the father who holds his child accountable without shaming them. It's the stranger who steps between a bully and their target. And it's the wife who stands in front of a stadium and forgives her husband's assassin. Love is activism. Love is clarity. Love is responsibility. It is not weakness. It's spiritual strength. It's why Jesus said, love your enemies. Yes, love your enemies. It's why Dr. King said, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And I'm here to tell you, we can't legislate our way out of spiritual bankruptcy. We have to love our way through it. So why does this even matter right now? Because we are living in a world that is spiritually starving. We've got access to every kind of knowledge, but we've forgotten how to be kind. We've got doctrines and denominations, but not enough people looking into each other's eyes and saying, I see you. I honor you. You are love. Love is not soft. It is not passive. It is the most powerful force in the universe. It heals, it liberates, it restores, and it starts with you. So I shared my story about being wounded by religion, and I wonder if you've ever had an experience like that because, I get it. I wonder if you've ever questioned whether you're lovable. Well, welcome home. I wonder if you've ever longed for something deeper than dogma. I promise you, you're not alone. I want you to always remember there is a golden thread running through all of us. And you, my love, are part of that thread. So, one of the key messages in my book, Your Inner Billionaire, reinforces that you don't need fixing because you deserve to remember who you are. You are a vessel of divine love, a mirror of infinite worth, a walking revolution of compassion. Love is not the afterthought. Love is the truth. And sadly, when we look around, we see anger right now, defensiveness, division. We've made truth tribal and love conditional when it is unconditional. But what if, just what if we decided to make love the default setting again? Not the mushy, avoid conflict kind of love, but the gritty, brave kind. The kind that says, I don't have to agree with you to still see your humanity. I'm just so struck that religion and politics make strange bedfellows, but ultimately they are the separation that takes us away from our spiritual nature. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it's time to start remembering that. Because what the world needs now isn't another hashtag. It's our hearts cracked open. So I ask myself, what is causing this division? Because we've replaced spiritual principles with personal agendas. We've abandoned reverence. We've outsourced our moral compass to influencers. And we've mistaken spiritual bypassing for truth. This isn't about God as a figurehead. This is about living from the frequency of love, the actual frequency of it. So ask yourself these questions. Do I lead with compassion or judgment? Do I try to understand or try to win? Do I seek truth or just confirmation of my own belly button and opinions and navel gazing? You see, when love leaves the room, so does wisdom. I'm going to say that again. When love leaves the room, so does wisdom. And now I'm going to say something that's probably going to ruffle some robes. Religion is not the problem. Dogma is. Dogma creates the separation, the superiority, the us versus them, the idea that my path is better than yours. That love needs a label or a set of rituals to be valid. I've seen spiritual folks gossip and ghost. I've seen righteous folks judge and shame. And I've done both. Yep, me too. Knowing full well it was not my highest vibration. So let me be clear. I haven't always gotten it right. We are all missing the mark. None of us are without sin. As I said, sin is just missing the mark. I've made decisions from ego, from hurt, from fear. But here's the thing about love. It's not about being flawless. It's about coming back to compassion, coming back to forgiveness, coming back to truth, coming back to your soul. Because love, real love, it's messy. It demands humility. It calls you to the mat and says, are you willing to see through new eyes today? We're not in a war of ideologies. We are in a spiritual famine, a famine of reverence, of stillness, of grace. We're so busy trying to be good, do good, look good, that we forget to be love. Not act like it, embody it. This isn't about what you believe. It's about how you show up in your kitchen, how you talk to your children, how you scroll on Instagram, how you forgive your past, and how much you love yourself. That's the revolution. So, what can you do today? Here's some ideas. Speak with someone you disagree with, not to debate, but to understand them. Be curious. Replace outrage with that curiosity. And ask what wound is underneath this behavior. Practice sacred speech. Literally, words are spells. Speak as if your voice has power, because it does. Love fiercely, not just romantically. Love through boundaries. Love through advocacy. Love through truth. Become the calm in the storm. And most of all, be the person people can count on when the world is spiraling. So this leads me to my invitation, my beautiful one. Let's stop looking for the perfect belief system. It doesn't exist. Let's stop canceling people for not getting it all right or the right way to you. Let's stop waiting for world peace to love our neighbors. Start now by being the peace. Start with one thing today. Try calling someone you ghosted. Say sorry without defending. Forgive someone who'll never apologize. Send love to someone who voted differently than you. Love yourself without condition. That's how we change the world. That's how we heal these spiritual wounds. So I want to go back for a moment to that 16-year-old girl, that beautiful girl that lives inside of me, sitting alone with a secret too heavy for her hands. And if I could whisper one thing to her, it wouldn't be, you'll be okay. It would be this: love never left you. Even when you felt broken, even when you questioned God, even when you blamed yourself. And I want to whisper that to you too, to you that's listening right now, wherever you are, whatever pain that you're holding. Love never left you. You are part of that golden thread. You are the prayer someone else is whispering. So, how do we bring that love into this world? Slow down. Love doesn't rush. Listen more, even when you disagree. Forgive boldly, not because they deserve it, because you do. Act generously, whether it's a smile, a tip, or a kind word. And speak truth with love, not silence, not shame, love. You're just not too broken to be loving. You're not too late. You're exactly on time. So I really want to thank you for walking this journey with me today. I have been vulnerable and I hope you can be in the next days to come. And if no one's told you lately, you are loved. You are light. You are part of the golden thread. And as we close, I want to offer you this. May you remember that you are made of love, by love, for love. May your spirit reject anything that tries to make you feel otherwise. And may your presence, your very existence, be a lighthouse for those who forgot. I'll see you next week on another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. But for now, take a deep breath, place your hand over your heart, and remember what the world needs now is love, sweet love, and you in love, as love, for love. And if this episode stirred something in your soul, if you're ready to live on purpose, in love, in truth, in alignment with something greater, I want to invite you to do two things. Please share this podcast with someone who needs a reminder that love still is here. And grab a copy of my book, Your Inner Billionaire, where we talk about reclaiming your worth, rewriting your beliefs, and building wealth rooted in love, not hustle. Because, yes, wealth is part of it, but not just money. I'm talking about wealth in relationships, in every area of your life, wealth in your nervous system, wealth in your soul. You can access it all when you start from love. And my book is your invitation back to the truth that was always within you. That divine spark, that sacred power, the real you. And oh, baby, she's rich in every way that matters. Because your life is not a problem to fix, it's a masterpiece to be lived. What the world needs now is love, sweet love, not just for some, but for everyone. Be the love, share the love, speak the love. And until next time, stay bold, stay rooted in love, stay barefoot, and let me know how you like to share the love. Bye-bye.